Well, let's...
Yeah.
You can step over this way.
Let's see here.
Right, so what's the first question? What do you have to say? What do you think about? Why did you do it?
Well, if you could, just say your name and spell it for us, just in case anyone else is going through
My
this
name
later.
is Nichols Westmoreland.
You're Bruce Harvey?
Bruce Harvey.
So walk us through what you think of this plea deal you were able to negotiate.
Well, insofar as it resolves all of these charges against Mr. Nichols, I think it is an exceptional result. It's an exceptional result for the following reasons. No murder charges. No gang charges. No factual acknowledgments required by the state. No other charges except for one conspiracy charge that was factually underpinned by convictions that Mr. Nichols already had from almost 6 years ago. So that result, I think, is an excellent result for him. It resolves all of these cases.
You were very specific in which parts of the RICO you admitted to. Explain that and why that's so important moving forward.
Well, that's exactly what I was referring to before. You know, the RICO charge in this case was a RICO conspiracy. And underlying the RICO conspiracy were all the 100+ factual predicates, some of which have already been resolved by and against Mr. Nichols. Some of them we hadn't even gotten to. And I don't believe the state would have been able to prove Mr. Nichols' responsibility for those predicate acts. So this was, yeah, we were in a conspiracy. Yeah, we acknowledge that factually the underpinnings of the RICO conspiracy are satisfied by what already was presented and what he had already pled to, but nothing else. No, as we said, no murder, no guns, nothing else. No gang charges. Listen, there is no gang charge. He did not acknowledge being in a gang, being responsible for being in a gang, committing any kind of violent act on behalf of any gang. Yes, I was in a overall conspiracy. Thank you, see you later.
You were behind kind of the original mistrial motion that led to this flurry of negotiations. Just walk us through kind of how it went from that to taking a plea.
Well, the state made several, errors in the case to which we had to ask for a mistrial. So we were satisfied that the judge, she heard us and our motion and asking for a mistrial, and that, errors could not be repeatedly occur in front of the jury and inadmissible evidence being heard by the jury. And so we're glad that the judge, heard our motion and said, do you want a mistrial, and will you take a mistrial without prejudice? And and then we went into negotiation, and we're pleased with the outcome of our negotiation.
How relieved are you after being part of Georgia's longest trial that your portion of this at least is over?
Well, now we can wear B suits and A suits. No. How relieved are we? Once you're in that routine and once you're there with your fellow lawyers and your fellow co-defendants, it's almost ritualistic. We were there every day. We were working every day. So, we're relieved because the result for Mr. Nichols was the right result. Now we have to deal with the rest of the world. They can release us from our kidnapped status.
You're gonna miss courtroom once then?
Yes and no. Yes, clearly. But I'm glad that all of us could work that resolution. And that resolution, again, from Mr. Nichols was no gang, no factual acknowledgments, no murders. So it is, he can go on about his life and get out. He's a young man. He's a nice-looking man. He's a smart guy.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that this projects him forward and doesn't leave him in the lurch.
So you're almost, sorry.
I saw that you choked up during, and this had to be a difficult decision because during this time, he's become family in a sense.
Yeah, very much
How
so.
difficult was it actually deciding not to go with the mistrial without prejudice versus go ahead and
Yeah,
making
but
that
allows
deal?
him to do it again.
Yes.
That allows the case to continue and doesn't resolve the case and doesn't give any sense of finality. Without the factual acknowledgments, without agreeing to the state's factual contentions, this ends the case. I mean, it's over. A mistrial without prejudice means it's subject to recurring. And there's a whole other group of severed defendants that are still out there and awaiting resolution. And I think we're in the best posture at this particular point with this particular judge in the 2 years that we've been litigating this and everything that has happened to strike at this particular point.
A lot of people don't understand that, so I'm glad that you pointed that out.
Okay, two.
Doubling up.
I got in a fight with two the other day.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It comes with the territory.
You were talking about, you guys do a word of the day.
Yes.
Can
Yes.
you talk about that and kind of what's next for him once he gets out?
Well, can I tell you that he is a very receptive man. He's like a sponge. He doesn't have a formal education. He doesn't have a consolidated family upbringing. But he's very curious and he's very smart. So we would use a word or get a word a day and we would define it. We would use it in a sentence. And, you can see his intellectual curiosity. He's a really good kid and a smart kid. And I want him, I truly.
Oh, sorry.
It's true. I mean, we've spent 2 years, over 2 years with our client. And like Attorney Harvey was saying, he's intelligent and he's so much more than unfortunately what comes out during a trial process. And, the word a day, we ask the word a day. Myself, Attorney Harvey, we go back and forth of picking a word, and we teach him the pronunciation of the word, and then 2-3 weeks later he'll use a word that he learned 2-3 weeks before, and he keeps it going. And so he's a great individual, and we're glad that this is over for him. It's been 2 years too long.
But he's also developed a pretty sophisticated understanding of the system. I mean, he can look at me when something happens and go, hey, this is what I know what is going on here. So he, like I'm saying, he's a sponge. I mean, let's bring these kids forward.
This trial has been a learning process for all involved in YouTube and media and also in the prosecution. What are you hoping to come from all of the things that you've shared and done with this case for the future? Yeah.
We all watched it. We all watched the commentary and we love the commentary.
Yes.
We point out the commentary.
So I appreciate that.
So we've had a good time seeing the reaction to what has happened in the courtroom. And people have an idea of what happens in court, that it's always, inflammatory, it's flamboyant, it's this and something always interesting has happened, except for the days and days we have with phone records. And so somebody up there saying, well, this is the phone number that's associated with, Miss Johnson. And really, what was the name of that? What's the address? And let's write that down. I mean, it's just drudgery. It is, section after section after section. And I know it's all part of a puzzle, but I hope that everybody understands that it is not all excitement, and that you've seen how deeply everybody has dug into this case, and all of the things that have been litigated week after week and day after day after day. We appreciate what everybody says.
Any message to the rest of the defense attorneys still fighting for their clients in this case?
Good luck. You know,
Do you think this plea is going to affect any of the rest of the case moving forward?
well, you know something, I think we were lucky. Not lucky. Let me try to find a better word. We were able to resolve our case in a different fashion than what I understand has been put on the table for others. When I say we resolved it to a single count, we resolved it without those other acts. We resolved it without any factual acknowledgments. If you have been following this closely, every other person in this case who has pled has signed a plea agreement with factual acknowledgments. YSL, I'm a member, it's a gang, I did this, I would do this on behalf of the gang, and I did this, and I agree that that's what the situation is. We were able to resolve our case without any of that, and that's the distinction. And I certainly hope, I wish the very best for every one of those young men, and including, Jeffrey Williams, who's been sitting in jail for years now. And he is an incredible talent and a wonderful young man. So I wish the best for him.
Last question for me. Do you know the 7 years? I know there's like a complicated formula of how early in theory he can get
It's
out.
not that complicated,
Okay.
It doesn't take Einstein. Remember, E equals MC.
V square.
Do we know that? We do know that. Do I know? No, I don't. If I knew, are you gonna ask how much
I was going to say how much time,
Time,
left
right.
of the 7 years.
But he's got what, 24 plus 5, 29 months in.
Right.
There are parole guidelines for his offense, but at the end of the day, it's up to the Georgia Board of Pardons and Paroles.
Right.
And if I knew that, I would be the richest lawyer in the world, and I would be on a beach with a cocktail in one of those little umbrellas, and my pinky would be up. Okay.
I think it was kind of a cliffhanger if he had any other outstanding issues that would affect any of his probation going forward. To your knowledge, well, I know that you can't go in depth, but is there anything that will affect his?
Well,
Yes,
I don't know the answer to that.
Okay,
There's
great.
nothing related to this case. There is nothing that he has in his past that is affecting his ability to move forward and appropriately serve this case, this sentence. Okay, his kids and his wife look forward to getting back home.
That's fine.
Thank you all so much for your time.
All right,
Well,
thank
you all were wonderful.
Spell it out for us.
Nicole Westmoreland, WESTMORELAND.
And you're Nicole.
Yeah, that's okay.
How you spell
We're,
it?
I guess, 3 shots.
Well, I would like to say for my YouTube community that we really think that you all were an amazing force to work with. You yourself, Attorney Westmoreland, is a first force to be reckoned with. When you speak, it's power. I talk about you being many and mighty. So, and I'm pretty sure for you that the family is very appreciative of all of the work that you both have done.
Well, we
So-
hope so. I mean, that's the ultimate goal is, that's a person. And what is the right thing to do that society should do for this particular person? Not to for the general
Right.
deterrence of others, but this is a human being. He has got a family. He comes clearly from a broken family. And we, as a society, want him to become that father that he didn't have, and his wife to be that mother that he didn't have. And we want him to be able to instill in his children the ability to move forward. That's the goal. That's the idea.
Well, you did a wonderful job at humanizing him. I appreciate it.
And we appreciate you.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate the media because a public trial is so important.
Yes.
It's essential for what we do, so we appreciate it.
Yeah, except for Jim.
Obviously.
So far as that thing yesterday, look.
So again, I am in the know with LJ Hall. I'm going to come offline and take a couple of photos, and I'm out.
It used to be, two used to come with, Clyde and, who was the other guy? And they would always serve me with stuff. So,
My wife said, I said, Mary,